Why does she want space? Is she running away from something? What is she running away from? I scoured my mind, my experience, and Quora, the forum earlier on today, to find what are the top 4 reasons that I see out there on Quora and that we've experienced in this work of maybe why. What is she running away from? Or what does she say, at least, whether it's true or not? We're going to dive a little more deeply into what's working, what's not working for you guys that are here live and doing your own work, learning about yourself. Because we as men, we want the freedom to live life with passion in relationship or otherwise. We want to feel free to be confident within ourselves no matter what, and to make the most important promises to ourselves as a man. So why does she want space? What is she running away from? At the end of the call earlier on today, a man asked this question, and I want to open it up to you guys that are here live right now. So what would you say to this man? He says, if I'm pressing and she says it's over, but she isn't saying the divorce word, is there space for work? What would you say to this man?
Well, my wife doesn't wants to be separated, but doesn't want a divorce because she's not getting married again. So
Okay.
it's a fucking catch-22. I'll do what I like. I'll get everything that a divorce gives me, except I'm not going to get divorced. So there's a disconnect going on in her head. Is there space? Give them space. You give them all the space they want. It's up to them how they use it. You give them all the space and they still want more. Crazy. You can send them to Mars and they say, I want space. Give me more.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was looking for joke memes before the call, and there's definitely she says she wants space, give her the space outfit or the space picture. So is this new for you, Patrick? Is this new that she said that she doesn't want divorce, or is this?
I know when we were standing in the kitchen, she says, I said, I knew that we were separated and she had a document. And I just sort of said, is this means we're separated from this date? And she said, yes, but I don't want a divorce. And I said, what do you think we're doing? And I just thought, you're not on the same planet. You've got this concept of what life's going to be. Well, she's finding with the dynamics that's going on now 3 years later that I don't think it's what she thought it was going to be, but she's got plenty of space. So there's still space if you look at some of the other marriage groups, they say one says it's a focused illusion and they'll come out of it eventually. And there's no point discussing it with them until they come to the realization themselves. But part of that realization is that they have to find themselves. There's no good you telling them. Or like in one chap that I'm talking to, her lawyer said, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to support yourself? And she went, what? Well, you're going to have to support your 7 kids and you're going to have to find accommodation. How are you going to do it? She left the office in tears. Oh, fuck. That wasn't what I thought. It took her 8 months to do the maths and say, I can't afford to divorce you. Curious reason for staying in the marriage if it's that bloody difficult. But, as he said, he told her, but it took her lawyer to tell her. She told him, but later, every time she came out of the lawyer's office, she was crying because the lawyer just went, well, how are you going to do this? Because that's your reality. So is there space? The conclusion I'm getting from a lot of this is until they work it out themselves, no amount of talking, pleading, and all that, whatever you want to do, works. You work on yourself. So there's space for you to work on yourself and for them to see that growth. And it's like another chap was saying that his friend rang up his missus and said, after a year or so separation and arguing about the split and the assets and stuff, and said, right, I'm sorted, come round and sign the paper. You need to come and see me and sign the paper. She come round and said, and burst into tears and collapsed on him and said, my life shit, how the hell did you get so together? Right at the point where he was going, take the money and run, dear, style of thing. And at that point, she started sorting this stuff out. So there's always space. There's always, like you keep saying, Jeff, the divorce is a piece of paper, right? That lays out the rules. I always remember one of my first bosses signed a contract. That's for when we're arguing. I'd rather have a relationship than he tossed it in the drawer. Never brought it out again, neither. And I think living in their beliefs is part of the problem. You've got to give them space to experience the world without the flavour of your opinions, judgment, or whatever. You're not saying much, Jeff. You've actually got me here, so I can keep going for the whole.
Yeah, that's good. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. And regardless of any one particular woman, whether she's daft to the realities of economics and what am I going to do with my 7 children, or whether she's aware or not, what would you say is the most important piece of the work for you? So you nailed it. This question of is there space for work? Well, there's always space for your own growth, right? Within our own selves. So what's been the most important piece of work that you've done for your own self during this time, would you say, Patrick?
Well, it's taken 3.5 years to learn some stuff, and I hope that I've grown in the work. I don't plead, beg, or I stopped right at the very start. I worked out arguing and all that wasn't going to get me anywhere. It was just a spiral. I learnt to just state my own values and live in my own truth, build the connection with the rest of the family, and what she's doing is none of my business to a degree. And when, as you've heard, confronted with her with others, just stay grounded and relaxed, and not let it affect me, or not let her see it that it affects me, and have the ability to do that. And who knows, might turn around, it might not. It's actually, but I've got to grow in myself. I don't actually sort of think about it too much anymore. I go, your brain actually gets tired of it. You've gone round that wheel before, da 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 da, and so I've actually got the stage where you let the thought in. Oh yeah, I've thought about that. I've got nothing new to say about that. Let it go out again. Oh fuck, the mower won't start. Oh, needs petrol, or it needs a new spark plug. Oh, 2 hours later, I haven't thought anything about it except the bloody mower won't start and the lawn's growing, if you know what I mean. So it's about mindfulness. I mean, what am I doing recently? Yesterday, I made myself a big slow cooker pot of soup that's going to last me 5 days of meals. Mindfulness, cutting up the vegetables, throwing the stuff in, went out for a few hours, come back to the house smelling nice, tucked into a bloody bowl of bloody vegetable soup. If I'll get sick of it, I put it in the freezer, and come the weekend where I can't be asked cooking, I'll just zap that in the microwave. There's the soup again. Cheap, cheerful, simple pleasure. Don't have to go to a restaurant. I haven't been to a restaurant for the last 5 years. Three or so, probably 4 years. Bloody hell, I've forgotten my manners. I'll pick up the wrong fork. I'll get kicked out.
Patrick, I love how you're describing this life that you have after, right? After this catastrophic event, after you wouldn't have expected to be this long in the place that you are in your worst nightmares, I would say. At least that's how I saw this, how I think of this.
I had a brother try and sort of say how I should be doing things, and I just turned and said, my life has been absolute fucking hell for the last 3.5 years. You haven't had to cradle your son that's bloody wants to kill himself. He's 40, and you're cradling him, and he's losing his mind. Yeah, I said, you haven't had to listen to your daughter incoherent because of something your wife's done. And then I walked away from him, and fuck me. 5 minutes later, he come up and apologised. And I thought, yes. So in that moment, I lived my truth. I thanked him for his candour and trying to tell me how to operate. I said, I'm not angry, but here's my side of it, which I haven't heard for 3 years.
Yeah.
And so again, in that moment, I was controlled. I could have got angry, wasn't going to achieve anything. And a part of me said, you're going to say too much. It was the sort of the week after the mother's funeral. I thought, you're going to say too much. So I just turned and went back to the bar and got another double bourbon and drank that.
Yeah. This is when you were expecting to hitchhike home, but you didn't need to, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, operate in the moment. I thought, how am I going to get home? I'll worry about that when I'm ready to go home. And to be honest, even at 71, it wouldn't worry me hitchhiking. Some Swedish blonde might have picked me up and bloody taken me away and tied me up. And
I've seen that movie too. I think it's called National Lampoon's New Zealand edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for getting us started, Patrick. I'll press pause. I appreciate you. I agree with absolutely what you're saying. Got amazing responses in the chat as well. So Steph mentioned to this question, she's not saying the D word, but she says it's over, and I'm pressing. Steph mentioned, never press a woman to qualify the relationship, and especially in these times. Absolutely. As I teach, if she feels like the relationship is underwater, if she feels like she's drowning, either for attention or she feels betrayed in some way, or whether it has anything to do with you or not, if she feels like she's drowning and she can't breathe in the relationship, that's not the time to try to press her on something, especially if you're wanting there to be space for work. So I agree with what Steph said, certainly. I want to come back to you in a moment, Nevin, and Ron, let's jump into what you mentioned. If you're able to come on in, you typed, why do we let them do this to us? Why not just get divorced and move on like men? I feel like we give them space, we work on ourselves, all in hopes that they take us back. Why do we give them this much power and control over us? Talk with me about that. Talk with us about that, Ron, please.
I don't know if you think about it. I mean, why are we letting them qualify us? I mean, if it wasn't for my kids and it's only my one daughter who's 14. I mean, I would have just moved on. I mean, that's truly why I'm trying to save face here. But I just feel like, what are we doing as men? I just think we got it backwards. I think we should be strong and just move on. There's a lot of girls out there. There's a lot of women out there. We have a lot to offer, and if they want out, then let them go. I mean, have a nice day. Good luck. You know, wish you the best life has to offer you, and I'll just keep doing my thing, working on myself, and having fun in life. I just feel like we have it backwards. I don't know. I
Yeah,
wanted to
I
get
hear
other men's
you.
opinions on it.
Yeah, I hear you, and I'd love to open this up. Steph said commitment is certainly one thing. The phrase of why are we qualifying to them is key to me of what you said. And I actually did pull an excerpt from No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. And here are some of the things that he says nice guys do. What is a nice guy? He's the relative who lets his wife run the show. He's the buddy who will do anything for anyone, but whose life seems to be in shambles. He's the guy who frustrates his wife or girlfriend because he's so afraid of conflict that nothing ever gets resolved. He's the boss who tells one person what they want to hear, then reverses himself to please someone else. He's the man who lets people walk all over him because he doesn't want to rock the boat. He's the dependable guy at church or the club who will never say no and would never tell anyone if they were imposing on him. And Ron, I don't know if you relate to any of these points necessarily, but part of this work, of course, part of this time when she wants space is so that we seize this opportunity to learn about ourselves, our blind spots, our flaws, of course, right? And that's why you're here. It's why every man is here. It's why a man might be watching this right now if you're watching this on YouTube. But in that moment, so why do you feel that you were qualifying yourself before this, let's say, epiphany, Ron?
Just feels like she has all the power to say yes or no, to stay or to leave. Um, Based on the work that we do as men, and if we better ourselves, and I don't know. I mean, part of me feels like if you're this unhappy, there's the door. I mean, it is what it is. I am who I am. We all are who we are. Yes, we can be better. Yes, we can improve. But I mean, if you're unhappy now, what's 5 years on the road going to be like? I don't know. I just wanted some
Yeah,
other guys' opinions on this. It just doesn't feel very manly to me.
sure. What are your opinions, guys? Unmute yourself. Come on in. That's a great question, Ron.
We give them the power. By accepting it, we condone it. And according to the No More Nice Guy, they actually want an argument. Somebody sent me a meme where an Indian lady's divorcing a man because he never argues. He gives her everything he wants. She wants an argument with him. He's the perfect husband. I want to divorce him because he's too good. And obviously, what she's really saying is there's no polarity. And if you don't, my determination of living my own values, here I am. You've known me for this number of years. Why am I going to change? There's actually there's a song that somebody put in, and it goes on about giving time until I'll go and find it. It was so bloody good. I thought, never heard of it. And he said, this bloke is part of the Divorce Bomb group. Holy shit. And he's a musician. He wrote a song about it. And it says, I gave you so much for you, there was none left of me. And you still weren't happy. And I actually got the lyrics. I'll find the lyrics for you.
Sure. So Patrick, before you move on, I do want to go over to Carl here in a second as well. But what do you think about Ron saying, just let them be and let's go ahead and leave? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's what I did with my missus. Well, she sort of blindsided me a bit. I knew we were arguing, but she wanted to move out of the bedroom. Fine. When she left the original time, I left her alone. Wasn't expecting 2.5 months later for her to tell me, I want a separation. But I just left her alone. I didn't ring her up all the time saying, come back, etc. They've got to experience the world. They won't lose you until they've got to experience the pain of the world and find, holy shit, Ron wasn't too bad. Shit.
The natural consequences of the world, right, Patrick? So you agree with me. Appreciate it.
Exactly. So if you try and live it for them, they're going to resent it. If you try and tell them how to live their lives, they're going to resent it because you're making a judgment on them. You go, hey, if you're not happy, what's your options? You don't tell her, piss off out the door. You ask her, what question? You're not happy, Ron's wife. Oh, I hear you. I hear that you're not happy. What's all that about? What do you think your options are? Oh, well, we could get a divorce. Well, what does that look like? You don't tell her. Oh, well, I'm going to get bloody 100% of the kids. And you go, really? You're that confident? But anyway, continue.
I mean, can I jump in here? If one woman out of all the women in this world aren't happy with us, so what? It's one woman. There's a million other women that we can make happy and that can make us happy. And I think we're forgetting that. They need to make us happy too. This is a two-way street.
Exactly, Ron. Exactly. But it's actually you're wrong in a way. It's not their job to make you happy, and it's not your job to make them happy. You be happy in yourself, and you're attractive. If you're wanting
Agreed.
them to make a judgment on you, Ron, you're looking for their affirmation. And so you go, and they're going, he's a needy bugger. He wants me to agree with him, and so he can feel right. You go, hey, fuck, I'm happy in myself, you know?
I agree. That she needs to make herself happy, and I need to make
Don't want to go
myself happy.
fishing. Well, oh, I don't want you to go fishing. Well, I'm going fishing. You can
Right.
come with me.
Yeah, good, Pat. So Patrick, press pause, and I want to give some time to some other guys too. I appreciate you. Yeah, Carl, come on in. Go ahead. Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, you know, my story was my wife she wanted to go on a walk, and she's pretty much told me that, hey, I know you're not happy and you would like to leave, and I know you'd like to be with someone that's younger and has got blonde hair. God, what? But she was giving me it was an invitation for me to leave the relationship. And she's never used I didn't get I don't know what you call it. The D word didn't come up. We've never talked about it, but she said things that hurt. I mean, they cut. And there was one day I'm sitting at the dining table, and she said, I'm trying to quote her. She says, "It sounds like you're criticizing me," is what she said. And I don't remember what I said, but in my mind, I don't believe I was criticizing her. And it infuriated me that she drew that from my, whatever comment or statement I made. So I took my fist and just slammed it on the dining table and yelled out, "I wasn't criticizing you." Then that pushed her over the edge. And she says she's done. She does, how I responded to her triggered.
Sure.
And, I don't know about her, been unhappy for X number of years. We've been married 36 years, and I don't want to continue like that. But one of the things for myself is, if she's unhappy, I've had to look at myself, take responsibility for my things, not take responsibility for things I didn't do. But there is unhappiness or sadness that I believe I caused in whatever ways, and there's probably quite a few of them. And there was a book, His Needs, Her Needs. And I remember many years ago, I didn't feel loved, but instead of like, hey, you need to love me, I need this, I turned and said, they teach about giving what they need. And when I started doing that, then she changed. And a couple things there is finding ways to interact with her that build her up, nurture her, versus cutting her down and cutting into her to bring her pain. Because if I bring her pain, she's going to pull away. And I'm still trying to put all what I've learned in the last couple of years, especially, together, of how to be the man, not be the nice guy, give, but without expecting something in return. And I've had a financial breakthrough here recently, but up until recently, I've been driving Uber, and I'm challenged because in the car, there are ladies that I pick up, and they say things to me that, like, oh, I like this. And these are things I don't hear from my wife, but I would like to hear.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I believe, because of some of the comments that were made or some of the conversations I've had, it's like, wow, I can find somebody out there. But the word commitment, I said, I made a commitment many years ago, and that's about the only thing that's keeping me here, wondering, because I don't believe I have fully uncovered part of all of me that I can give to her.
Where do you feel your edge is within your own self? And is there a time when you actually would leave? Is there something that could happen?
What was that? what was that first part?
So what do you believe the edge is that you're learning about yourself? Where are you exploring your own stuff? Is it little boy stuff that you bring forward? Is it the blind spots that you didn't know you had, and the skills and the way to bring lover energy to the relationship? Where do you feel your edge is with your own work?
Yeah, I haven't heard that little boy energy or whatever in a while. There's areas let's see. One of the things that came up recently, I was talking to her. Okay, my wife right now is with her mother in Switzerland. That's where she's from, and she'll be there till the beginning of August. But have been living here in this house with my oldest son and his 4 grandkids. And there was something that came up, and I was just telling my wife about it. I said, "Well, you need to. There's nothing I can do. You need to talk to him." And what I didn't get, and she's not going to give it to me. I don't know what the right word is, but give me that. Oh yeah, I understand that makes you feel bad. But just something that simple would help. But she didn't. She just like deflected it, and you need to talk to your son. Not that forcefully. And then she sent me an article about complaining and what to do so that you don't complain. And I was like, okay, great. This thing about how not to complain, this is helpful. I get it, but I didn't get that. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I was like, hey, I want to be understood.
Did you say that? I was going to ask you if there's something
No.
that you're okay.
I mean,
it
didn't. Yeah, it didn't happen in that conversation because I'm sitting back here like, what? But then later, it's like, wait a minute, I wanted her to say, maybe.
Yeah. So if I may jump in real fast, Carl. So
Yeah, go ahead.
Part of this journey too. So yes, finding out about ourselves, practicing things we didn't know we were missing in the past. I'm right there with you. I had to learn these things too, right? I wasn't born knowing these things, certainly not at all. But a part of this finding out about our own selves is knowing what we do want and beginning to ask for what we want. Right? Not in an abrasive way, not in a pissed off way, not probably banging on the table is probably not the best way, as as you learned and we know.
And let me just interject. I haven't done that in a long time. I mean,
sure. Yeah, I was making a little joke about it. Like, we've all been there too. We've all been there too. Yeah. But point being, so when you were speaking with your wife about this, and then she sends you the article about complaining, I'm wondering, will you find a time to say, hey, I appreciate the article about complaining. That's actually helpful. And I've thought about it since then. And really what I'm wanting next time that, when I bring up a concern about our son, let's say, honestly, just really to have you listen and empathize with me. That's really all I'm shooting for. You thought about saying something like that?
Well, no, because I don't even know, like, how do I bring that up? But I wasn't taught, how to communicate well. Now there is I don't know what, maybe a conflict. No, well, there's that one part where, hearing over the last couple of years, okay, we need to be men, not be a boy. She's not to take care of us as boys, but we're to be the man, we're to be the husband, we're to be the leader, we're to be the father. And if I say, hey, I didn't like, my son was doing this or whatever, feel slighted, there's that thing of, I'd like to get a little bit of empathy here. But then is that also a form of, I'm a little boy?
Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm wondering, is if you were to fear that she would see that as criticism, which it is really. Right?
Yeah.
See it as criticism to her. And whether you actually want that, or if that's appropriate as a man asking that from a woman. Now, modern society would say, yeah, of course, we communicate back and forth and we say what we want. But we've learned through experience and through all of this work, all of these books and these calls and these trainings, that it's not all about equality. It's about polarity, masculine and feminine polarity. So if we're criticizing her, is that just working against our own self? I think this is part of Ron's point. So what do you think about that piece, Carl?
Polarity versus equality.
So, we're all equals as humans, of course.
Yes.
But wanting to keep intimacy and sex and desire and attraction alive requires a polarity, requires one holding the masculine frame and one holding the feminine frame, as we've all been learning. Yeah. Versus, okay, we're just going to talk it out like roommates, I might say. And then therefore that's somehow supposed to come into a resolution that sparks attraction again, I suppose therapists might say. But we've seen that doesn't really work. This is Patrick's whole point, that the talking, trying to talk her through it, or as Nevin was saying, and there's feedback in the chat of that you're not going to force love. Forced love is not love at all, as Ron was saying as well. So what do you
Yeah.
think about that piece? That you're not equal, that this is a double standard, that she doesn't want to be criticized and you shouldn't criticize her, and you should just never take your concerning emotions to her. What do you think about that piece?
It's something I'm have been, let's say, meditating on, but how to express that has been my challenge, because there is that pendulum swing to, oh, I'm this emotional boy, to I don't give a shit what you think, and I'm not going to give you my 2 cents. I'm actually feeling more this way now. After that, okay, that was helpful, great. But it also, my reaction is, okay, I just won't tell you anything. So, and I know that's not right, but like, if I can't talk about something like this, and why, I'll tell you that change the oil in the car, but I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah. So the
I'm
hard part
struggling.
about this, the really difficult part about this is she may have responded completely differently in the past when
Yeah.
she felt like the relationship was above water, when she was feeling better about the relationship. She may not have punished you for that as severely, let's say, or that may not have, she may not have even gone there in the past. And so now all of a sudden we're seeing a different side of our woman, and it's confusing. It feels disrespectful. We're kind of put on our back foot. And that's why we come here, to be around other men that are learning this, that have gone through this, and can be supportive of one another. It's why we're here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it. Thanks for jumping
Thank-
in. And Steph, I know you lowered your hand, but I saw you being patient. Thanks for being patient. Come on in. What did you want to add, please?
Oh, it's all good. Maybe it's not pertinent anymore. It's been a few minutes since Ron talked. I guess it's just, he was saying, why are we sticking around? If a woman says we're not happy, why don't we just pack up and leave and be a man about it? The way I see it is, if you flip that to that's how you react to that thing, then how do you get to a long-term relationship? And what's to stop you from doing that every time, right? So there's going to be friction, there's going to be difficulty. The way I see it is, you're investing in that. You're going to get challenges, you're going to learn, you're going to grow. And if you find the right partner, you're going to grow together. Obviously, there's times where, it's time to quit and move on because it's just not working. But otherwise, I just see it as what Ron was saying. It's like, okay, yeah, it's hard. I'm out. I'll find another girl. There's a million other girls. Absolutely. But, out of the millions, maybe 100,000 of them you could have a long-term relationship with, right? So it's just, to me, it's more the fact that starting over, you're losing all the time you invested, the stuff you learn about the other person, how you work together, how the relationship can grow. And I think that's one of the key things of why you stay together and you try to work it out.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that you said. I think part of, I'll just play to the side of the table for a second. In my thoughts of what Ron was saying was, and I'll ask you about this, Steph, is this part, when she's to this point, if she's saying it's over, or this woman isn't saying the divorce word, but we hear stories, and I hear stories every single day about, she's threatening divorce, she's saying she wants divorce, she's saying all these nasty things, she's saying she doesn't want to be with you. At that point, and from your personal experience, what's the runway look like for you then at that point?
My experience was a bit different, because once I heard that, her mind was set. So, I went through the process. It's been 2 years now. And even though like our official separation was like next week, 2 years ago, but I still went through the work, still, trying to be positive, trying to maintain a good relationship with her, because we have 3 kids together. So I don't necessarily have the same situation as others here. Sorry. A lot of times, some people say, oh, like I got a text from her, or she gave me a hug. It's like, I get those every day. Like it's so different, and we've talked about this before, where it's like, to me, it was very confusing. And then that's the way it is. Like,
yeah,
I know her well enough. She's very touchy-feely. She's very extrovert. She overly shares her feelings. So like, I think my experience is different. Yeah, like I don't have much to say on how the D word and how to navigate that. I did the hummingbird the first maybe a couple of months, and I took a step back. And then when I saw there was no resolving, I did my best to help her on what's going to make you happy out of this. and you need to move out. Okay, like I'll help you if you need me to visit a place to give you my opinion. I'll do it. Is it stupid? I don't know, but that's the way I am, because it's the way I was looking at it. Is I could be a little boy and say, well, you're a bitch, you hurt me, so I'm just going to hurt you back. Or I can prove to her that I'm going to be a man. This hurts. This sucks. But you know what? May as well be proud of it later than just to react and be a little bitch.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. And to your point, we all have at least slightly different situations. And I think you and Ron would agree that this is also about following through with our own integrity, right? Honoring our own self. That's a commonality that I'm hearing that you and Ron are saying. Yeah. Thanks, Steph. I appreciate you being here and jumping in. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Patrick, come on in, please.
Part of this work teaches you to know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, how the fuck can you know them? And they don't really know themselves either. And it's only through the process of going through the fire that they realise, and you realise your own strength. And part of me, my kids go, oh, you're on these things all the time. Yeah. And I'm going, well, if I had stayed on them, I would have still been angry and bitter.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. This is about learning about ourselves, and the cliches of we can go no deeper than we go within ourselves. We can't pour from an empty cup. We find that all those things are absolutely true. Yeah, Patrick.
yeah, well, cliches, distilled wisdom over the years. Rolling stone gathers no moss. You know, it's a profound experience in simple terms and a metaphor. So a part of doing this work, it gets you out of, if you were in the victim mindset, it gets you out of that, and it makes a better man of you in terms of yourself, and then that can be attractive. And it's like that bloke. How, she collapsed into his arms. My life, shit. How the hell are you got through this and being like, because he worked on himself, kind of thing.
That's right.
So
That's right. That's exactly right. Appreciate it, Patrick. So let's move toward our topic of today, and we'll wrap up this call. So why does she want space? What is she running away from? And there's a punchline that I'll do quickly here. So here are the top 4 ways that I've seen in my practice, I've seen with men, and I saw out there on the internet. I was doing some research for this. She wants time to take care of herself, or refocus on her work, on her friends, on her hobbies, without distraction, she might say. She might say she wants to refocus on work or other areas of life. She might feel suffocated, whether that's real or otherwise. She may be unsure about her feelings, so she wants space for self-reflection, you might say. And we talked all about these on the previous call, on the previous C-Note show that we had earlier on today. And so if you're looking for that, I would look prior to this on YouTube. And finally, she might be saying this, she wants space because she's losing interest or she's already done. And here's my punchline with this is, it doesn't really matter which one of these is exactly quote unquote true or not, or true in this moment or untrue in the next moment. It doesn't necessarily matter. It's that we follow our own integrity and that we learn about our blind spots and grow wisdom through this pain, regardless of the pain, whether it's a child that's sick or a parent that passes away or a tragedy in our life in some other way, in career or some other financial difficulty. It's about, do we believe we can take the next best step for ourselves? That's my motto of life and career and parenting and a relationship is, what's the next best step? And that may be coming on this call or asking a peer or asking another man or reading a book or just listening to some music from when I was in high school and going to the gym, right? What's the next best step? So try not to get caught up in the why. Yes, it feels good to understand maybe where she's coming from, but we can never put our finger on every ingredient within a soup. We can't pick the salt back out of the soup. So you may want to understand that this has salt within it, but does that really affect what you're going to do? Maybe, maybe not. But following our integrity, the next best step is, to me, always the next best thing we can do. Appreciate you guys.